Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Ryan Garcia apparently went into rehab yesterday. And this was on the back of his discriminatory, racist ramblings. I did a video about his comments about Muslims, and I neglected to mention the racist, the anti-black stuff that he said. I'm going to repeat it now. So if you're squeamish about bad language, about discriminatory language, hit mute or look away. This is an adult channel. I'm not going to abbreviate things. I think things should be out in the open. So with that in mind, what he said was, I hate niggers. I'm anti-black. Bring George Floyd back to life and kill that nigger again. The Muslim thing was essentially, fuck all you Muslims that rape little kids. Okay. Now, there's an old saying, if we don't believe in freedom of speech, for those we disagree with, we don't believe in freedom of speech. Noam Chomsky said that, I think. And I'm someone who has a dark sense of humour. I'm very much in the sort of Jimmy Carr, Frankie Boyle sort of corner when it comes to humour. Me and my mates of all ethnicities, all religions, we always take the piss out of each other. We're very much anti-PC, or what they now call woke, anti-woke, all right? But when you come out with words like that, like Garcia said, there's really only one excuse, and that is that you don't have mental capacity when you say it. Because if you do say it, even as a joke, and playing devil's advocate and saying, it's freedom of speech, you should be allowed to say that. That's one side of it. But you can't blame people when they turn around and say, you're full of shit. I think you're a bigot. That's nasty stuff. You shouldn't be saying that. Because most people wouldn't find that funny. They wouldn't find it entertaining. To say I'm trolling, oh, I was only kidding, I love everyone really, I don't really cut it for most people, you know what I mean? Those are upsetting things to say. And I'm someone, again, I'm not a PC guy. I'm honestly not. So Garcia this was, of course, the latest in a long line of idiotic behaviours from Ryan Garcia. So what do you do? How do I get out of this? I've dug this enormous hole. I can barely see the light at the top of it. How am I going to get out of this hole? Oh, I know. I'll go into rehab. I'll try and grab the narrative where I was unwell, and now I'm getting well again, and I'm begging forgiveness, and I'm so sorry, and I didn't really mean it. If you've got the balls to say something like that, at least stand by it. I actually, to be honest with you, I want people who have those thoughts to say them, because then I know where I stand with them. Then I know I can walk away from them. Do you know what I mean? I don't want people hiding those feelings if they're genuine feelings. Now, it is feasible that Garcia was joking when he said that about Muslims and blacks and everyone else. And I don't think mentally he's very stable. But I do think he's got mental capacity, and I do think he knows right from wrong. And even allowing for the fact that he's grown up on social media, in that he's of that age where everything on the internet appears to be the real world, is the most important stuff. It's the most important world. And everything outside the internet, it's kind of just some chore that you have to go through. Do you know what I mean? Like, the real world is virtual, and the real world in your head is virtual, but the actual real world is, almost an irritation. I have to behave. I have to abide by social norms and mores. I can't say something like that without some sort of kickback. Because if I was a black person, I'd be saying, fuck you. You know what I mean? And then I'd walk away. I'd say, what a silly little boy. And of course, racism doesn't have to be directed at black people or Asians, or it can be directed at white people. I remember moving to South London from North London. It was a predominantly black area. I lived in an area called Tulse Hill, 70% black people maybe, and there were a couple there who were an arsehole to me because I wasn't black. But when you sort of generalise and talk about an entire ethnicity, you're not really leaving a lot of room for misinterpretation, are you? Do you know what I mean? Which Garcia was. And to then say, well, it was just a joke. All right. Most people aren't going to find that joke funny. Most people are going to either dismiss you as a silly little boy, which frankly is what you are. But for you to sort of suddenly play the mental health card and talk about rehab, and I think he even skipped rehab to go watch his brother get stopped in a fight. And he said afterwards, I skipped rehab for this shit. Look, if you're serious about getting well, and rehab isn't just a sort of narrative grabbing hook on which to hang your sort of, or to try and resurrect your, on which to hang what you said, the mental health, it's my mental health and I wasn't well. No. You knew what you were saying. You knew what you were saying. And you got to carry it. You got to own it. There is such a thing as personal responsibility. I know that doesn't exist in the virtual world, where you've only got to go and have a sort of nosy at all the comments on, say, a YouTube video or on any social issue. And you see the imbeciles, the morons, the ignorant people, the ones who are at best naive. You see all the bigotry pouring out of people because they're tapping away on their keyboard and there's no kickback. Ryan, this is the real world, mate. You said that in the real world. There is such a thing as the real world, where you are held accountable for your actions and what comes out of your mouth. And again, I am someone who believes absolutely in freedom of speech. Absolutely. I'm not the most PC guy. I've been in trouble in the past with jobs I've had because I've put things online. Nothing as bad as that, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say, but I've got into trouble because some people object to it. But you've got to own what you say. You can't then turn around and say, I didn't really mean it. Okay, maybe it was a joke, but most people ain't laughing at that shit, mate. You need to educate yourself. You're a silly little boy, Ryan. You're silly. You're not significant. You got talent, which apparently you're pissing away. Drink, drugs, you get yourself all tatted up like a big man. You got millions of dollars, so you think that puts you above the law, above, more importantly, not just above the law, but above the standards that a civilized society should have. Do you know what I mean? I find RYAN GARCIA a sort of tragic story, a very foolish, stupid little boy. But I think it's very sad. I think it's rather pathetic. I talked to a couple of black friends about this. I said, "What do you think of this and this stuff?" And both of them sort of like boxing, but they're not as into it as I am. But they just kind of laughed at him and said, "What a joker! What a fucking idiot." That was their attitude. They weren't even offended. They were like, "Oh fuck, stupid little bastard." It's 21st century. We're supposed to have moved on from that sort of shit. What do you think? Let me know your comments on this. Do you think this is just a sort of narrative grabbing ploy by Garcia's people to sort of try and rebuild his shattered, self-inflicted damage to his reputation? Can his reputation ever recover from this? Do you care? I'm kind of getting to the point where this is a boxing channel, so I'm going to comment on this stuff, but I'm getting to the point where I don't really care about Garcia anymore. I just think, look, you got a choice. You got to want to go into rehab because it's the old, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink line. You go to rehab, you can say all the right things, you can maybe do your 12 steps or whatever rehab, whatever system they're using in rehab. But you've got to mean it and you've got to dedicate yourself to it. You've got to want to do it. You've got to want to do it. You've got to think, I'm fucked up. I'm ruining my life. Where do I go from here? I've got to start climbing. I'm not convinced at all that Garcia is at that point where he's crash landed and he's got to lick his wounds and start climbing up again. And it's a mountain. It's not a sprint. You don't sprint up a mountain. You climb it bit by bit, have a sit down when you're knackered. Recharge your batteries, climb a little bit more, and eventually you get to the top. It's a long way back. And that takes dedication. I'm not convinced Garcia's got any of that. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know your opinions. And thank you for your time as always. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you. Bye for now.